In a climate-controlled vault at Yale University sits a small, unremarkable-looking book. You can turn every one of its 240 pages. You will not be able to read a single word. The handwriting is fluent and confident, looping across the page like someone who knew exactly what they were saying. But the alphabet is one no human being has ever seen anywhere else. It belongs to no known language, living or dead. Every secret code humans have ever built has eventually been broken. Every one, except this book. And the strangest part is not that we cannot read it. It is that, the more you study it, the more it behaves like it actually means something. Chapter 1. A book that shouldn't exist. Let's start with what the book physically is, because even that is strange. It is made of vellum, treated animal skin, and it is small enough to hold in one hand. In 2009, researchers at the University of Arizona carbon-dated the vellum. The skins were made between 1404 and 1438. The book is genuinely 600 years old. That single fact rules out the easiest explanation. This is not a modern forgery. Whoever made it in the early 15th century, and went to enormous expense to do so. Inside, the book is divided into sections, and each one is stranger than the last. The first and largest is botanical, page after page of carefully painted plants, roots, leaves, flowers. The problem is that almost none of them match any plant that has ever grown on Earth. A few resemble real species, most are composites, a root from one plant, leaves from another, a flower that exists nowhere. Botanists have argued about them for a century. Then the book changes completely. The next section is astronomical, circular diagrams, stars, and the symbols of the zodiac. Around the rims of these wheels are tiny human figures, and bands of the unknown writing curling inward like spokes. Then it gets genuinely surreal. An entire section shows small women standing in green pools and tubes of liquid, connected by what look like pipes or veins. Nobody knows what the bathing section means. Medicine, biology, alchemy, or something symbolic we have lost entirely. Every guess is just a guess. The final sections look pharmaceutical, drawings of jars and roots beside short paragraphs, like a recipe book whose recipes no one can follow. And hidden in the margins, almost as a joke, there is a tiny creature that looks like a dragon being prodded by a stalk of vegetation. 600 pages of effort, in a book that no one can read, made by someone who clearly believed it was worth making. Chapter 2. The Writing. Here is where the Voynich Manuscript stops being a curiosity and starts being a genuine problem. Because the writing is not random. Scholars call the script Voynichese. It uses somewhere between 20 and 30 distinct symbols, written left to right, in tidy words separated by spaces. There are almost no corrections. No crossings out, no hesitation. Whoever wrote this wrote it fluently, the way you write a language you already know. And when linguists ran the text through statistics, it got worse. The word frequencies follow Zipf's law, the same mathematical fingerprint that every real human language produces. Random gibberish does not do that. If you mash a keyboard for 200 pages, the statistics come out flat and wrong. Voynichese comes out looking like a language, but then it breaks the rules again. Certain words repeat 3 times in a row, which almost never happens in real languages. And the writing changes its own statistics halfway through the book. A cryptographer named Prescott Currier noticed that the manuscript seems to be written in 2 different systems. Call them Language A and Language B, as if 2 people, or 2 methods, produced it. So the script is consistent enough to look like a language, structured enough to follow rules, and weird enough that no real language behaves exactly like it. That combination is exactly what makes it so hard. A simple cipher would have fallen in an afternoon. Pure nonsense would have been obvious. This is neither. Whoever made the Voynich Manuscript either invented a writing system so good it fools modern statistics, or wrote a real message we have completely lost the key to. Both possibilities are remarkable. And for 600 years, nobody has been able to prove which one is true. To find out who tried and failed, we have to follow the book backwards through history, because the trail of people who owned this book is almost as strange as the book itself. Chapter 3. The Trail of Owners. The first owner we can name with confidence sat at the very top of Europe. Rudolph II, Holy Roman Emperor, a collector obsessed with the strange and the occult. According to a later letter, Rudolph paid 600 gold ducats for the manuscript, an enormous sum, the price of a small estate, believing it was the secret work of a famous medieval genius. From the emperor's court, the book passed quietly through a handful of hands, until it reached a scholar in Prague named Johannes Marcus Marci. In 1665, Marci did something that saved the book for history. He mailed it to the most famous scholar in Europe, a Jesuit polymath named Athanasius Kircher, with a letter begging him to decode it. That letter is the single most important document we have. It is the reason we can trace any of this at all, and it records the claim that the book had once belonged to the emperor himself. Kircher was a brilliant man who claimed, falsely, to have translated Egyptian hieroglyphs. If anyone alive could crack it, it should have been him. He failed. There is no evidence Kircher ever made any progress at all. The book disappeared into a Jesuit college in Rome and went silent for nearly 250 years. Then, in 1912, a rare book dealer was sorting through chests of manuscripts at a Jesuit villa near Rome when one book stopped him cold. His name was Wilfrid Voynich, and the book has carried his name ever since. He spent the rest of his life convinced it was the lost work of the medieval philosopher Roger Bacon. He was wrong. The carbon dating came a century later and placed the vellum well after Bacon's death. But the name stuck, and the obsession spread. Today the book lives at Yale University's Voynich Rare Book Library, catalogued, unglamorously, as Manuscript 408. Every page has been photographed in high resolution and put online, free for anyone on Earth to study. Which brings us to the people who tried hardest to read it. And the list of people it defeated is genuinely intimidating. Chapter 4. Everyone who failed. The first serious modern attempt came from William Newbold, a respected philosopher who announced in 1921 that he had cracked it. Newbold believed each Voynich character hid microscopic shorthand marks, invisible to the naked eye. He claimed Roger Bacon had recorded telescopes and microscopes centuries early. It was a sensation. It was also wrong. The tiny marks Newbold saw were just cracks in centuries-old ink, magnified by a man who wanted to see a message. His theory collapsed within years. Then came the heavyweight. William Friedman was the greatest cryptographer of the 20th century, the man whose team broke Japan's purple cipher during the Second World War. Friedman studied the Voynich Manuscript, on and off, for decades. He pulled in colleagues, ran study groups, applied every technique modern cryptography had. He never read a word of it. His final conclusion, hidden in an anagram he published as a kind of insurance, was that it was probably an early attempt at an artificial, constructed language. Probably. The man who broke one of history's hardest ciphers spent decades on this one, and ended on the word probably. The codebreakers at the American National Security Agency took their own crack at it during the Cold War. They got nowhere either, and the failures kept coming, right up to the present. In 2014, a linguist named Stephen Bax announced he had decoded a handful of words, plant names mostly. In 2019, a researcher claimed it was written in a lost Proto-Romance language. Newspapers ran the story worldwide. Within days, actual linguists tore the claim apart. This is the pattern. Every few years, someone announces the solution. The headlines celebrate. And then the claim quietly falls apart, because it only ever explains a few words and never the whole book. Even modern artificial intelligence has been turned loose on it. Language models have flagged statistical patterns, suggested it might be Hebrew, or Turkish, or encoded Latin, but not one of these systems has produced a single readable, verifiable sentence. They find patterns. They never find meaning. 600 years. Emperors, Jesuits, the best cryptographers of 2 world wars, the NSA, and the most powerful computers ever built. All of them defeated by the same small book. So if no one can read it, the obvious question is whether there is anything to read at all. Chapter 5. Hoax, language, or cipher. There are really only 3 possibilities, and each one has a serious problem. The first is that it is an elaborate hoax, beautiful gibberish, designed to look meaningful and sold to a gullible emperor. A researcher named Gordon Rugg showed you can generate Voynich-like gibberish using a simple grid and template trick available in the 15th century. So a hoax is genuinely possible. But here is the problem with the hoax theory. The statistical depth of the text, the layered, language-like structure, is extraordinarily hard to fake by hand across 200 pages without a computer. The second possibility is that it is a real language, written in an invented alphabet, maybe a dialect, or a private script, that simply died with the people who used it. The third is that it is a real message hidden by a cipher we have never identified. a code so unusual that 6 centuries of code breaking has not even recognized its method. And this is the part that stays with you. Whatever the answer is, the book is internally consistent. Whoever made it was following rules, their own private grammar, applied carefully across hundreds of pages. Someone, 600 years ago, knew exactly what they meant. And they are the only person who ever will. The Voynich Manuscript is not hidden. Anyone can open it tonight, every page in full color for free. It hides nothing and tells us nothing. 600 years, the best minds on earth, and a book that simply refuses to be read. Some doors stay closed not because they are locked, but because we have lost the shape of the key. If you want more stories from the edge of what we understand, subscribe to Strange